All right, he is Justin Hokanson, On 3 Sports, part of Auburn Live there as part of On 3 Sports. @_J Hokanson is where you find him on Twitter. He's with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. I do want to start by saying, first of all, I'm going to go off script here for a minute, Hoke. Congrats, you guys. Are you a year old? I mean, how old is Auburn Live?
Yeah, we've done a year. We're a year and a half.
Okay, year and a half.
We basically started last August, right before the football season. So.
Yeah, and I should have saved this, but I was looking at like some of the On 3 sites. You guys have absolutely killed it. And I know you didn't come on here to brag, but I just wanted to say congratulations. I mean, it's been an incredible launch for you guys.
Yeah, certainly first calendar year finish. So yeah, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. So we're pretty excited about where we are, and yeah, it's been huge.
Yeah, you should be. AuburnLive.com if you want to join. All right, I was going to let you pick. Do you want to start with basketball or football? Which one do you want us to go with first?
Start with basketball.
Okay, let's start with basketball. Maybe Georgia's better than we thought. I mean, Georgia's 3-1. Like, that looked like a bad loss for Auburn. You don't want to lose a game, but maybe Georgia's better than we thought, which then means maybe Auburn's a little bit better than maybe some people are giving them credit for.
Yeah, that loss doesn't look quite as bad as it did at the time. And I think it was the 12. It was kind of the way they lost, too. I mean, you lose by 12. It was like 12 or 13 right there, and Auburn could really never get closer than 7. So, it was a game that Georgia just outplayed Auburn and won, but it certainly looks a little better. Georgia's playing pretty well. That Akendo is tough to deal with. So, yeah, it doesn't look as bad. Then you look at the Auburn-Arkansas game. That win doesn't look quite as good because Arkansas is reeling.
That's right.
But for Auburn this year, this is not like last year with Jabari and Walker, or a year where you have Samir Dowdy and Isaac Okoro and those guys. This team's a little bit different. Like, it's not going to be flashy. It's not always going to look like that. This team for them to win, they've got to be really focused and just focus on execution. When they kind of get ahead of themselves is when they get in trouble. When they can kind of rein it in and stay locked in, whether it's Wendell Green, Katie Johnson, Janai Broome, Alan Flanagan, whoever, if they can kind of stay locked into what they're trying to do offensively and keep turnovers down, they're a really good team. When the turnovers get up, it can look really bad, and they can lose by 12 at Georgia, who's an average basketball team. So they kind of ride the line a little bit, but if they can do the right things, they're a good basketball team. They just don't have the margin of error like when you've got Jabari and Walker sitting over there, or in years past where you've got guys that could just knock down threes or score at will, things like that.
This would be an insult if I said this about a football SEC team, but keep in mind that usually bracketology has 9 or 10 of these teams projected to be in the field. They play a very Big Ten style this year to me. It's not as fluid as Bruce's teams usually with their guards. They seem to be – every possession is so contested. They are really shutting people down, and they're actually not shooting the ball bad at all. Last 2 games, they're shooting like 46% from the floor. It's a very Big Ten flow, in my opinion, watching it. Do you get that same feel at all?
At times, yeah. I think that, certainly you look at that Arkansas game. That was one of, I go to practices, I watch games, I see a lot of them.
That was their best game of the year, right? Best game of the year for them.
That was as dialed in and focused as I've seen an Auburn basketball team in a while. Just every possession, they were focused on running it, not turning it over, being smart. And that's just kind of how this team's is gonna do well. They'll have their moments because you can't completely rein in Wendell Green and Katie Johnson, and those guys they're gonna break out and bust out and want to just go. But I think when they're at their best is when they can rein that in a little bit and play smart, because they've got weapons. Jalen Williams is a tough guy to deal with, a lefty around the rim. Janai Broome's a tough guy to deal with. Wendell's hard to keep out of the lane. Like, they've got pieces that when they slow down and run things, they're good. But yeah, it's a different style. Pace is way down from maybe what Bruce would do with Jared and Bryce and those guys. The pace of the game is down, and he's trying to lean more on their defense with Dylan Cardwell, Janai Broome, 2 good shot blockers. So you got to keep the turnovers down, lean on your defense, turn things into a rock fight at times. And be okay with that, and it's resulted in a 4-1 start.
Justin Hokanson is with us on 3 Sports, AuburnLive.com. He is on Twitter @_J Hokanson. He's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. I don't mean this as a shot at the kid. I really don't. I'm asking it honestly. Did I buy a bill of goods on Yohan Traore? Did I just buy a bill of goods on him?
No, I don't think so. I mean, Yuan and Chance too. Now Chance was hurt, and he's kind of battling back from an injury. I mean, those two guys were really talented players, top 50 high school players. And look, if you go back and look at some of the tape in Israel, they did good things.
I know he tore it up, and that's why I mean that. But he hasn't had double-digit minutes in conference play. I mean, I guess he is what he is. Is what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah, he just, from my own opinion, it looks like a confidence thing to me. I just think he gets out there, and I don't think he's sure what his role should be. You know, he kind of gets in there, and there's games where he'll play 8 minutes and record no stats. And to me, that's just a guy that just doesn't want to take chances. He doesn't want to shoot threes. He's a good shooter, but I think he's lost some confidence. And so when he gets out there, he's kind of just eating up minutes versus being the kind of talented caliber player he can be. So I think it's just a confidence thing. Chance a little bit too, coming back from that injury. I think those two guys just, and maybe it won't be this year. I mean, it's hard to just insert them in and get your confidence in SEC play. It's probably not going to happen. But I think they got to just get through this year and try to get their confidence back. But that's what I see. Yuan's really talented. You watch him in practice, he's a lot like Shuma. He can shoot the three. He can play around the rim and do those things. I think he gets in there and role play and bench play, and he's just not quite sure am I aggressive? I got Katie Johnson out there with me. I got Alan Flanagan out there with me. How aggressive do I get to be? And so I think he just kind of sort of fades to the back, plays his minutes, and is done.
You know, flipping to football now, you have the National Signing Day, which we talked to you, and I thought, wow, Hugh and them made some inroads. They got some people I didn't think Auburn was going to get. But now in the portal, I was looking at Brad Crawford's 24/7 ratings there, and I know On3 Sports has their ratings too. Where do you guys have this portal class for Auburn? It's got to be pretty dang high, right? That you're sitting here bringing these players who are getting playing time, who are starting at other places. These aren't projects. These are starters from other places coming into play for this Auburn team. The roster makeover is real. Where do you put this portal?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've done a really good job. I think we have them second in team rankings, in portal team rankings, behind UCLA. And I mean, I think overall, it's a very unique thing with Auburn. You want to go in ideally in the portal, and maybe you get 3 or 4 guys. Like that to me, that would be ideal. 3 to 5 guys, pick and choose. You don't ever want to be in there getting 12 at a time, but that's where Auburn's at. And so given the fact that they've needed so many, I think they've done a job at getting really good quality with that type of quantity. Generally, that would fall off, and you'd get maybe 3 or 4, and then you're kind of just reaching. But, I mean, for the most part, they've got guys that contributed and played in big-time college football, whether it's Purdue, that's a major conference, Maryland, major conference, and so on. Justin Rogers from Kentucky was a huge get. DeMario Tolan, Austin Keys from Ole Miss. Like, I think they hit a lot of needs. And then, of course, the offensive line. I mean, you're talking Gunnar Britton from Western Kentucky, Dylan Wade, and Avery Jones will all start next year. You went out and got 3 portal guys in there, and I'd be blown away if they don't all start on your line next year. So, yeah, I think with the quantity of players they needed, I think they did a good job getting quality. I think we're all kind of waiting on quarterback to see what they do there. They don't want to – I don't think – if you listen to Hugh Freeze at signing day, his press conference, he said, I don't offer a kid if I haven't watched him play. Like, he was real specific about – I'm not going after somebody unless I've specifically watched them and studied them. And so they're clearly being fairly meticulous at the quarterback portal spot. But overall, really good job. I mean, I did a story the other day, and I added up snaps of throughout the positions. Between the offensive line and defensive line, from my count, guys that are leaving the program, you're talking about 17,000 snaps.
Wow,
man. Replacing offensive line and defensive line, because you just had guys that had played a ton of football. Killen Zaire, Austin Troxell, Brandon Council, Colby Wooden, Derek Hall. Those guys had played years of football. And so rebuilding in the trenches was a huge need. And I think they've done a pretty good job. I think the one position that they're probably looking at did they fill a need and what's it going to look like is edge. You lose Leota, you lose Hall. What's the edge going to look like? And so that's probably the one question mark, who's going to be a pass rush specialist. But other than that, I think they've done a good job of getting enough players that all can contribute.
You went back and edited 17,000 snaps. That's I apologize for the comment about your very plain fatigue T-shirt then. No wonder you're dressed like that. I mean, that's a lot of man hours.
What does that even mean?
I wanted to ask, do you think still active and when the second portal after spring practice, when it opens up, that seems to be where some other quality players end up saying, okay, I'm late into the portal because it doesn't look like I like my situation at my school. And you can find like a Jamison Williams when he went to Alabama was a late get there. There are some other guys and another wave of talent going. Do you think Auburn will stay active in the second portal?
Yeah, I would have to think so. I mean, they need enough players that I would have to think there's going to be more guys that pop up that they may want to get. You're going to have a new staff going through spring for the first time. You know, there's going to be couple probably players that want to leave after spring camp. So you're talking about maybe filling a couple of needs there. So yeah, I would think that they're going to keep looking. It's probably more hit or miss because so many of them enter the early, and the second one's only a 2-week period, May 1 through 15, and a lot of those guys are going to be guys that didn't win out jobs in the spring, and so maybe potentially a less of a caliber player, but you never know. But in Auburn's case, they need bodies sometimes as much as quantity. So I mean quality. So yeah, I would imagine they'll be active in that second portal window as well.
Yeah, and that was my other question. My closest friends in the world are all Auburn grads. So I played golf on Saturday, and every time we were waiting to hit, we were discussing Auburn football. So they were jotting down numbers on the roster of how many they brought in on signing day in the portal, how many people have left, and they're trying to work the roster. At some point, there will be that hard conversation that and listen, Hoke, we're all big boys. I never criticize a coach who tells a college player at this level, you need to find somewhere else to play. But it does look like we're approaching a point, if they bring in more people, that there may be some of the old roster that needs to still hit the portal and get out of there. Have you guys started crunching numbers yet, or are they getting close to a limit? What are you guys doing on the roster, you think?
Yeah, I've honestly been kind of waiting till the portal dies down and then go back and see where we're at when this 45-day window is up. But you're right. I mean, given where we're at, and you have players walking in after the season going, hey, I'd love to stay, but I think the NO wise, I should get this much. I mean, that's happening already. Yeah. So when those conversations happen, I think it's just going to be hard lessons learned for some of these players. Like if that's the conversation you want to have, here's the other side of it. And the other side is, hey, we went back and watched your tape and we actually think you're worth less. Or if you want to be really savage, you can say, hey, we think maybe you owe us money.
Yeah. Or you really need to get your NIL money from the Sun Belt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's just going to be, hey, you came in here asking for NIL. Okay, cool. Here we looked at it and we think absolutely not. That's happened. There's a couple of guys that have left Auburn's roster that came in there and said, hey, I think I've deserved this. And they said, we're not going to do that. We don't see it. And so they left and went somewhere else. So that's the new age of college football. And I don't know, maybe it'll be easier for coaches. I mean, in the past, if a coach wanted to try to push a guy out, how exactly do you do that? Well, now maybe you can just maybe there's an avenue to be more upfront with them because it's turned into a little bit of a business. Maybe you can just be straight up with them and say, we got to make room, this and that, and NIL, and maybe you can do it easier. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you're on three NIL evaluator is making a lot of friends in the coaching circles. I don't think, because I bet a lot of people go when they're on three sports. They walk in there and say, "Wait,
says right here
on three says I'm worth this much money."
You know what it is.
It can.
Yeah, I mean,
it can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Hoke, you've probably traded in a car and you take it to different lots and you get different values.
Yeah.
And the lot, where you might have the car you want, they're like, "Yeah, I'll give you $14,000 for you." Like, well, down there, they gave me $17,500.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Then you need to go play for that dealership.
That's right. I mean, the dealership never tells you that. All of a sudden, they're like, "You know what? We found another $3,000 in it." All right.
It's also probably a bad time, by the way, when you have a new staff coming in. That's probably not the ideal time to be a player and walk into a brand new coach and say, "Hey, coach, I think he's going to go, I don't even know you, man."
That's right.
I mean, I don't think I'm gonna play that game with you already.
Yeah, that might have been your money with the last staff, but not with this staff.
That's
we're
also-
going to determine it with this staff.
That's also great advice for local TV people. If you got a new news director or general manager, not a good time to walk in and say, "Hey, I need more money."
You've done that, huh?
I've not done that. I've
really?
had friends who've
Okay.
done that.
All right.
And I used to work with them.
Yeah. He is Justin Hokanson. Do a lot of things here. Go follow Hoke on Twitter @_J Hokanson. Go subscribe to auburnlive.com and On3. Follow On3 Sports @On3 Sports and read Hoke's work and watch his videos. Thank you so much for the time, Hoke. Always great talking with you.
Thanks for having me. See you guys.
All right, buddy. Take care. Justin with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.